Welcome to the video. Yesterday I was watching a channel on YouTube called MGK Boston, and it's Mike from Boston, and he's a member, long-standing member of the vinyl community. He's got very eclectic tastes. Some of it goes right up to the edge of acceptable taste. Sorry, Mike. Yesterday's video, he even presented an album by Bert Kaempfert, and this orchestral pop that was the thing for aging big band fans in the early 60s, early mid 60s, and I'm a bit worried that the next video he might start presenting a Mantovani box set, but we'll see. But beyond that, he's got some pretty broad taste. He likes a bit of jazz. He really likes traditional kind of 60s and 70s country music. But he's also got a healthy interest in all genres of rock as well. Although I think he doesn't say much about progressive rock. He doesn't compliment progressive rock, so maybe that's not within his taste. Anyway, Mike did this video, and you know, both he and I have indulged in doing random selections from our collections and so on. But he's come up with an idea, and he calls it By the Numbers. And he's selected, and the suggestion is that those of us in the vinyl community should select from our collections or our libraries, vinyl libraries or CD libraries, albums where the artist name has a number in it, or the album has a number in it. So I thought, well, this morning I'll spend 10 minutes going through the collection, see if I can pick up a few, put them in order. So I'm going to have a rundown from the highest number all the way to number 1. So let's start with my selection. 12 albums, by the way. 12 albums. Yeah, 12 albums to select. So it's been quick and dirty, really. So the first one, coming in at number 25 is Zager and Evans. Now everybody knows that the title track, In the Year 2525. It was an absolute classic of my childhood, really unforgettable single. It's kind of psychedelic. It's a duo. There's the two guys at the back, Zager and Evans. The rest of the album, I can't remember, but I understand, or at least my recollection of it, is that it's kind of fairly inoffensive pop. Nothing as iconic as In the Year 2525. But anyway, that's straight in with a bullet at 2525. Coming in at number 2112 is 2112 by Rush. Most of us in rock circles will know this album very, very well. This was my second Rush album after All the World's a Stage. Good album compared to the later stuff, even A Farewell to Kings and Hemispheres, which followed not long after this. This sounds kind of a little bit slight, really, a little bit teenage in comparison, and of course they went on to greater things, but it is an iconic album. The back cover is a slight embarrassment. Feel sorry for the guys, but you know, that's what rock stars wore in the mid 1970s. Some of them anyway. Maybe the ones just from Canada. So that's 2112. Coming in at 1999, Prince. My first Prince album. This came out at a time when I was starting to hoover up 12-inch singles, and Little Red Corvette and 1999 itself were iconic kind of dance numbers at the nightclubs I was going to at the time. Don't go to those clubs anymore for obvious reasons. But what an absolute dynamite album. Double album. It's got the classic, as I've mentioned, 1999 Little Red Corvette. Is anything on the inner sleeve here? We got anything going on inside? Oh, yeah, well, you have. Let's just show you the inner sleeves. So there we go. Prince and all his pomp. And have we got lyrics? Yeah, we got lyrics. We got lyrics on either side on the first album. Let's see what we've got. On the second, ooh, here we go, we got an insert. So we got an insert there which has Prince's earlier albums and others like The Time, I think it is. What time is it? Yeah, The Time, and Vanity 6. Here's the other inner sleeve for the second LP of the two. What do I love about this album? It kind of brought Prince, I think, seemed to me anyway, that he was able to, the one artist, maybe apart from Sly and the Family Stone, it was obviously a great influence on Prince, but he kind of appealed to rock fans as well as dance fans and soul fans. But anyway, what have we got? Dance music, sex, romance. DMSR is absolutely superb. Just chugs along really, really nicely. Let's Pretend We're Married's good. Yeah, the last side one is absolutely amazing. 1999, Little Red Corvette and Delirious, and side 4, wonderful Lady Cab Driver, so sexy. All the Cities Love You in New York, that's not so good. International Lover is hilarious. It's brilliant. Kind of really late night stuff, absolutely superb. Anyway, that's in at number 1999. Jumping all the way to number 812 in the charts is Van Halen, the second OU812, the second Sammy Hagar Van Halen album after 5150. I think that's right, isn't it? I should know. Anyway, this album, good album. Absolutely love one track in particular, which is Finish What You Started, which is just a brilliant vocal by Sammy on it. Absolutely superb. It's not acoustic, but it's a really kind of like just a gentle kind of a blues number. Where the drums come in a little bit beefier as it builds and builds and builds, but it's not like heavy metal. It's a really, really good blues number. So OU812 in at number 812. Let's get that back in. Here we go. And jumping all the way to number 52 in the charts, it's the B-52s, and this is Party Mix. Now, the B-52s, I used to drive about 25 miles to work each day, and with a friend, a work colleague, that we used to share lifts. And every time we got into his car, he used to play the same cassette at, it kind of turned up to 11. And it had Grace Jones doing Private Life, and it also had Gimme Back My Man from this album, this version, which is kind of really beefed up, and it is just a fantastic, fantastic track to drive to. It's a brilliant album. It's a short album, it's only about, I think it's less than 30 minutes, if I remember rightly. Anything on the inside? No, nothing on the inside. But absolutely brilliant, exciting album from a brilliant, exciting band. Never saw them. Who have I seen so far? I didn't see Van Halen either. Seen Prince one time. Obviously didn't see Zager and Evans. I was just a kid, and I've seen Rush a couple of times back in the day, back in the 1970s. So anyway, that's at number 52. Leaping all the way to number 17 is The Cure, 17 Seconds. Now, is this the second album? The first two albums were kind of repackaged, but this is kind of the first proper album by The Cure, 17 Seconds. This is the one that has a forest on it. So here we go. This is where they started to, they moved away from kind of quirky, upbeat sort of kind of new wavy stuff into their kind of doom period when they were, when they had this kind of, this style that was kind of gothic in its mood. But this is a great album. It's not as good as the follow-up, which is Faith, or indeed the follow-up to Faith, which is Pornography. But this has some great, great tracks on it, in addition to The Forest. It's got a nice, gentle start, a reflection, and then straight into a really fast number, Play for Today. In Your House is just chugs along very, very nicely. At Night, and then 17 Seconds itself. Great album, very, very strong bass guitar. Vocals from Robert Smith, who's the guitarist as well. There's nobody that sounds like him. It's really unique. But anyway, good album, really good album. But if you're interested in The Cure, obviously later on they became even more poppy. They went back to sort of pop, but kind of more mature, more competent, and were brilliant. And they're still great today. They're still touring today. Fantastic band. So that's at number 17. Coming in at number 12, something quite different, is Randy Newman, the second Randy Newman album. Now, Randy Newman, I want to do a video on Randy Newman and one album in particular, and I was just thinking about Randy Newman the other day, and when I compare him to a lot of artists that were around in the 60s and 70s and 80s and that have maintained their careers, right up to almost to the present day. Randy Newman's still out there touring. He's come to the UK and Europe next spring, late winter, early spring. So he's still performing. You often find that with bands is that they have these kind of a bit raw, a little bit underdeveloped albums early on. I mean, there's the odd classic that the debut album is still the best album they ever did, but a lot of bands kind of develop as they go, and they grow older, more mature, and their music develops alongside their audience. And I was thinking about Randy Newman, and I think Randy Newman was born an old man because, as far as I can tell, he never really appealed to young people. And it's almost a case of where the audience, as the audience grows up in age, they discover Randy Newman and then go back through his back catalogue, and you'll find that most of the stuff is of the same nature. So he's also done soundtracks, of course. He has a wicked, dark sense of humour. He writes in character, so he doesn't write autobiographically. He does occasionally, a little bit, one or two, but most of it's in character, and it's a real little insight into mostly small lives in America, and he's got a particular kind of bent to write about the southern states in the United States. I think he lived in Louisiana when he was a young lad. So he's got, and he talks about race. He's got lots of tracks in his catalogue about racial tensions in the United States, and he writes very, very intelligently and provocatively about that. This is a good album. It's not my favourite, not by any stretch of the imagination, but what have we got here that people will recognise, people will know? There's no inner sleeve on my copy here. Let's Burn Down the Cornfield has Ry Cooder on guitar. That could have been on a Ry Cooder album. Mama Told Me Not to Come, which has been covered by many artists and successfully as hit singles. Suzanne is not the Leonard Cohen song. It's a song about a stalker. Just really quite menacing, but really interesting and clever the way he does it. Old Kentucky Home is like a country number, really authentic, and that's been covered by many people as well. But yeah, it's a great album, but not the best Randy Newman album. Anyway, that's at number 12. Coming in at number 10, something quite different, 10cc, the original soundtrack. Third album, I believe, after 10cc. It's the first album. Second album is sheet music, and I think that might have been a euphemism if you say it fast, but it wasn't sheet music, if you get my meaning. But yeah, great cover, great outside cover, and this is the one that has their most famous song, "I'm Not in Love," but it's absolutely brilliant. It's also got Life is a Minestrone, that was a hit single as well, certainly in the UK. But the tour de force, is that a French phrase? Is the first track. It's a suite of 3 parts called One Night in Paris. Une nuit à Paris. One Night in Paris. You know, at the time, if you think about Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody, and you've got those kind of choral-like vocals in the middle of it, these guys were just as good, but in a slightly different way. But they're out of the band, at least 3 of them could sing as well, and sing very well. So yeah, great album, great band. Didn't see them. Not seen Randy Newman either. Didn't see this guy coming in at number 5. Nick Drake, 5 Leaves Left. Now Nick Drake didn't make a penny when he was when these albums were released. I think he released about 3 or 4 albums. I won't go through them all. But if you imagine really introspective folk music from the middle of England, Warwickshire, those of you who have glanced at some of my cycling videos, there's 1 or 2 of them I think where I've gone to where he's buried. Not because I'm particularly morbid or a huge fan of Nick Drake's music, but it's a great ride there. And it's a place called Tanworth and Arden in Warwickshire, so about 30 miles away. But yeah, really good. Well, the grave is not really good, but the album's really good. So it is kind of the sort of stuff that you would listen to on a day like today, which is kind of a rainy, wet day, or maybe late night. It's kind of bedsitter music, really, in a way. And I think he became more well known, I think, because of certain critics and students who latched onto his introspection and his style of music. Notable tracks: Riverman is well known, Way to Blue as well. Cello Song is gorgeous. I mean, Fruit Tree's good as well. I mean, it's all gorgeous. This particular, it was released in 1969. Yeah, 5 Leaves Left. Not exactly with a bullet, but there you go, in at number 5. But it's tied at number 5 by this guy. Recognize this, rock fans? Lenny Kravitz. Excuse me. Oh, it's getting cold. I must have been talking too long. Sorry. Anyway, 5. I think it's his 5th album. There's a cover from the outside. There's the inside. This particular vinyl copy, it says it's a limited edition. Can't remember. Oh, it's got a couple of bonus tracks on it. What have we got here? It's got American Woman as a bonus track, which is absolutely brilliant. Fly Away was a hit single, and I think it's used in adverts as well. Live is brilliant. It opens the album. Black Velveteen is great. Critics are really sniffy about Lenny Kravitz, and I've never understood why. His musical influences are clearly Hendrix, his great guitarist, Sly and the Family Stone, Led Zeppelin. He's got a very eclectic range of styles, but he's great. He's a great singer. I think part of the sniffiness was that his music was kind of at the beginning on his first album called Let Love Rule. It was not necessarily original. It was a bit of a pastiche of what artists that the critics obviously revered and thought he was just a copyist. But he's very, very good, and great sense of melody, great sense of dynamics. I think all his albums are really good. I think it was also a little bit, people turned their noses up at him because he used to hang out with Madonna back in the day as well. But I think that's the time when Madonna was credible. But anyway, Lenny Kravitz sharing 5th spot in my rundown. That's at number 5. In at number 4, this one has been hanging around for a very long time in the charts. Miraculously at number 4, it's Wishbone Ash and their 4th album, Wishbone 4. Now, Wishbone Ash, often put in the, you often find a track called Blown Free on rock compilations or driving compilations or rock music for dads compilations. But Blown Free is not really representative of what they do. They are not, or never were, a hard rock band. They had a lot of folk and ballad influences in their music, and they had a really unique sound where they had two good singers in Andy Powell and Martin Turner. Andy played one of the lead guitars, and Martin Turner played bass. But they had this sound where they got two guitars, two electric guitars, and both guitarists were very, very competent. It's not really riffs they're playing. They're playing runs. They're playing melodic solos, and they're playing kind of in harmony, really. And I'm not a musician, so I don't know the musical terminology, but they play off each other, not in a dueling sort of way, but in a complementary sort of way. So their music is very melodic and very, very enjoyable. That's the inner sleeve, kind of reflective rock stars in the mid-70s. The back cover. So what have we got here that's particularly notable? So many things to say is a nice opening. Ballad of the Beacon is a lovely ballad. No Easy Road is a hard rock number, but it's quite short. Everybody Needs a Friend is an extended number. It goes on for the best part of 10 minutes, and it's a lovely, lovely ballad. Dr. Sorrel, Sing Out the Song. Rock and Roll Widow was a live favourite as well. This, out of all the bands I could have seen but never did see in the 1970s, I never saw Wishbone Ash, and I really wish I had. Really good friend of mine back from my school days. This was his favourite band, and he had everything, and now I've got just about everything, but sadly never seen them live. And finally, at number one, the most unlikely number one you're ever going to find is Graaf Generator. Graaf Generator. H to He, Who Am the Only One. So here we go. This, I think, was their third album. First album, The Aerosol Grey Machine. Second album, the least we can do is wave to each other. And then H to He, Who Am the Only One. I'm going to do a video on Graaf Generator, one of my favourite kind of progressive stroke jazzy prog bands. Really notable in that they've got very, very, very sparse use of electric guitar. In fact, I think electric guitar only appears on a handful of tracks throughout their early part of their career in particular. But even the singer, Peter Hamble, who I've often said is the greatest living English songwriter in popular music and a brilliant, brilliant singer, he writes everything here. It's clever lyrics. The music is at times really harsh and dissonant and really makes you uncomfortable. At other times it's just it has sheer beauty. It's absolutely gorgeous melodies and everything. It's only got 3 tracks, I think. Has it? No. Here we go. So it starts with Killer, which has got a great saxophone riff. Fantastic. So Killer, it's about it's kind of about people who are a bit psychopathic, sociopathic, and he uses an analogy of a shark, and he talks about shark in the sea. But yeah, really good. Then it's got House with No Door, which is kind of a bit of a ballad, but again, really, really beautiful flute on there. The Emperor in His War Room is great. Lost, and then finally Pioneers Overseas. So only 5 tracks on the album, but they're all brilliant in their own way. So that, for the first time in history, Graaf Generator reached number 1 in the charts. So there you go. That's my rundown of By the Numbers. Thanks, Mike, for the suggestion, and I will see you on the next video. Thanks for watching. See ya. Bye.